Hello, fellas. What seems to be the trouble?
We're all out of powdered toast.
Leave everything to me.
Welcome to a new episode of Real Business Roundtable. Shout out to Powder Toast Man! Today we're going to talk about discovering your direction. What are we talking about? Your career, your business idea. What are you going to do in your life? Typically, this is something that someone experiences in their late teens into their 20s. When they graduate school, graduate high school, graduate college, during college. These are the things that are happening in people's minds. Also, if someone is in an industry and that industry sort of changes and there's a pivot required, and you're thinking, do I want to get into something else? Today, we want to talk about the things that we experience, the things that we consider, what's important, where should we kind of focus, and how do we actually identify what our direction should be? Because there's a world of choices, there's a world of things, and today we have Samir Smithanyan from Kazakhstan that's going to share some of his wonderful thoughts and some ideas. Jake is out today, and I am eating hard-boiled egg. I believe in putting protein into your body today, because sometimes I flex with the intermittent fasting, but today, Friday, I'm putting protein into my gullet every 2 hours. Wow. I can hear it.
You know, while you chew, I would like to comment on your dish with the slot in the middle. Is that glass?
Wow.
Yeah, that's nice. Because I had a plastic Tupperware container, and they were all right. It had the snap lid, but I didn't like it, so I got glass recently. But the split, the split's nice. Good for like lunches and
Cottage cheese.
Yeah. It's nice. It's just I couldn't help but notice. It's good stuff.
So, I thought nourishing yourself on the show would be a new level of real, but this might be when keeping it real goes wrong.
Vernon decided to keep it real.
Get your motherfucking hand out of my face. You heard me, motherfucker. Get your hands out of my face.
Shout out to Dave Chappelle. Keeping it real kind of went in a weird direction today with me supplementing protein. All right. So, Samir, the reason why I had you on the show is like you're a younger guy.
Yeah.
You were going through the tests in life and going through things, and what do you experience? Like ever since you went to school, like what kind of things like went through your mind during the journey to identify, like even your passion for photography?
Yeah.
Like I want to inspire the folks at home when they go through this, and we all go through this, whether you will admit it or not. It's in your mind.
The fuck?
Might be when you're laying down sleeping, or looking out the window thinking, or driving. You're thinking about your life. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Now, Samir, share with me what you were thinking about when you were in the Alps.
So it's really chilly, you know. Really
Goats.
goats, hogs, dude, everything, man. The lawn.
You guys don't look those lambs, right?
Oh yeah, it was crazy, dude. We have hogs that will hunt rabbits and foxes for you. Like they'll swoop down, like 500 yards away, scoop it up, come back and drop it off and the stuff. Oh yeah, I forgot it today. I was thinking about that, dude. I came in and I'm like, I forgot my hat.
Oh, you gotta keep it real.
I know.
So, but back on the topic, like talk to us about your journey.
Yeah.
Like even like how you got into photography. Like tell us like where did things start out with you?
So my sister actually got into photography first. When she was in high school, she had to take an art class, and they offered a photography class there. But because the school that she went to, they didn't give a camera, so she had to go buy one. Well, when she got it, she used it for the class, never touched it again after that. You know, and it's just sitting there. And we go to Acadia all the time, beautiful place. And I was like, Sarah, do you mind if I use your camera? You know, I want to give it a go. I want to see what I can do with it. And I ended up getting lost at this pond, and I was taking pictures for like 2 hours. My parents didn't even know where I was. And I got hooked. The photos that I was taking were other... See, it's funny, but I just see this egg-sized...
Just a bulge of egg in his mouth.
So anywho, in that moment, I knew I liked taking pictures. I was doing good stuff, and you know, I ended up getting a laptop where I could kind of edit on them, and that's when something inside me triggered where it's like I was hungry for it. I wanted to go out, I wanted to keep taking pictures. You know, when I got home, I was looking for abandoned houses, you know, abandoned castles that I could go drive to and see, and you know, I started looking up different photography techniques, and I got into it. I got into it pretty heavy.
But what inspired you? Was it the person you met? You said your sister? Or who was doing it?
Yeah. My sister didn't inspire me, though.
Who inspired you to do photography? That's the question. While you think, I will eggify my mouth.
No person inspired me. Nature inspired me. Because my parents love to travel. You know, when I was 5, I was in Africa. I've been around the world. I've seen things. And being able to capture what's in front of you and the beauty that's around you, there's beauty in everything. When you look around, you know, you take anything in the right angle with the right lighting, it can be gorgeous. You take a picture of a dumpster and you can make it look good. And that's what inspired me. It wasn't any in particular person. It was I want to take this beautiful thing, make it look better, and be able to go back and look at it later on in life and be like, I was there, I did this, and I took this picture. There's just something about it that really hit. And when you take a sick picture, it's a sick picture. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. So I don't think any one person inspired me, but it was the feeling that inspired me. That's what it was. It was that I did something that I liked, that made me happy, and was positive. And that feeling I wanted more of that. That's what it was. Yeah.
So but in your mind, just from a like was there something like about life itself or a level of life you want to hit, or you know, everyone kind of dreams and thinks, and sometimes people's dreams and vision are a little bit more simple, which is totally fine. If you want to live a simple life, that's totally okay. Totally okay. And then some people have these lofty dreams, like things that they want to achieve, and you know, they want to do all that Instagram bullshit. So, like, where have you ever like thought to yourself, oh, you know, I want to, or are you more like, oh, I want to get into a career that's secure and then be able to advance in that career? Or
I think that's more so what it was, at least for me personally. You know, like you and Jake, you know, you guys, you wanted to make your own business. You want to get out there, and you're just hungry like a fucking shark. You know, I'm not that, and that's okay. You know, everyone's different.
And for the record, everyone doesn't have to be that way. It's okay if you're not. And people never beat yourself up like, oh, I'm not like this person, or I'm not like everybody else. There's a reason for you on this planet. There is a reason why you are special. There is a reason that this world needs you for what you are going to contribute to the world. There's a reason for why you make people feel a certain way, that energy, and what you bring to the planet. So not everyone has to be a wheel and deal in Wall Street tycoon, guy in a limo, whatever. That's not for everybody, and that everyone is here for a reason. So you have some people here for this and some people here for that. Don't beat yourself up because you're not that type. So I wanted to really just kind of get into what inspired Sam, because he's a great photographer. And I want to find out what was it that drove him to do that, and then we'll get into me, and then we'll kind of give people guidance. But so were you more like, I want to build a career with a good company?
Yeah, and that's what it was, because I, for a while, photography was definitely just a hobby. I was good at it. I loved doing it. But when I met you guys, Jake always approached me whenever he needed, portraits for himself for a business profile or something like that. He always came to me when he needed photos. Because he knew I was good. He knew I was good and I cared about what I did. But what did it for me, so I was actually in college, by the way. I'm studying psychology. And for a moment, not just a moment, it was like a good 5-6 months, I was contemplating dropping out and just going to work with you guys full on off rip. Because that felt good. Dude, when I met you and Jake, I met Jake well back. When I met you and I saw what you were all about. Whereas I'm not.
Was that when we had Bonchon?
Yeah, that's when we had Bonchon.
Yeah, Bonchon. We all met for lunch just to kind of feel each other out, and we had some chicken wings.
And so it's funny because I'll never forget it, because I showed you my photos, and then I showed you the picture of the Zagan Bridge that I took. Yeah. And you looked at it, and I remember you told me, when can you start? Yeah. Not in terms of the podcast, in terms of being a photographer for you. When can you start? And I remember calling my mom. I'm like, Mom, this guy believes in me. He saw my shit, and he was like, that's fucking good. I want it.
But the other thing is, I can read people, and I got a good vibe from Sam. So I was like, okay, you're welcome into the fold, into who we work with and stuff like that. Because I've interviewed people who had great portfolios, but they were a total douche.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Yo, I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck about your skill set at this point. Your attitude sucks.
I think so. It's funny you bring that up too, because there's a lot of
personalities, everything, guys.
So, and it's crazy too, because there's a lot of people out there who put on a front, who aren't themselves. And my thing, as long as you're you, as long as you be true to yourself, life will work out, and you will find the right people. They will come to you. Because if you're pursuing what you love, and
so good. So good and tasty.
Yo, round. Go! As long as you're pursuing the stuff that you're passionate about and you're keeping true to yourself, the right people will start to come. It just will. It'll happen naturally, because your paths will all start to cross. And then you're like, oh wait, I like you. We're in the same headspace, Maybe not down to the T, but you have something that will impact my life in a positive way, and vice versa. There's that give and take, and that's something that can't be bought. That's something that's found, appreciated, and respected. That mutual respect that you have for each other and for what you do and what you can offer. And that's something that I feel like is lost along the world, because everyone has this idea, social media, right? Mm-hmm. You look at all the business guys on there, they're all dressed a certain way, they're all doing this, they're all doing that, they're all telling you what to do, and it's copy paste across the fucking board. And you're not supposed to be that. Yeah. You're not that guy.
You're not that guy,
you
pal,
can
trust me. You're not that guy.
Achieve similar things, maybe in a similar fashion, but you're supposed to. I heard that. You're supposed to take pieces from a bunch of different people and then build your own pie.
Yeah.
You gotta find ingredients in different places. Not everyone's gonna bake their own pie the same way. Yeah. And yeah, that's what got me. It was that moment where you saw potential, and it was instantaneous. It was how quick it was that I was like, oh wait, this could be a career path for me.
Yeah.
I thought this was just a hobby, but no, this is something else. This is something to look at.
When you say like you were forced into these electives, but what I wanted to ask is, did your guidance counselor suggest a specific industry?
Yeah, psychology, of course, that's my major.
Okay.
You know, utilize your degree. And I listened to the advice. Obviously, I didn't take it. Because I feel like at the end of the day, do what you want to do.
My guidance counselor, I'll never forget it. I had a meeting with my guidance counselor, and they said to my mom that I should be a carpenter.
Really?
I don't know how and where and why they got that. I have nothing against carpenters. I think they said like woodworking.
Maybe hands on.
I took woodworking class in grade school, and I know how to use a lathe and all this other stuff, and dovetailing and all that BS. I haven't done it in a long, long time. But I remember the guidance counselor said that to my mom, and my mom was like, she jumped in and she said, no, he's gonna do this. Now, in her defense, I am more of I can get my hands dirty and do shit if I need to. But I'm also wicked creative. I'm always like designing and drawing, and as just as fun as a kid, I would draw like logos or whatever, and I'd be obsessed with like the McDonald's logo or the Burger King logo or whatever, Caldor. I used to stare at the signs and I liked that visual stuff. And then I would like make little logos for different things. And then I remember my mom saying something like, hey, you should get into advertising. Now, I was probably 14 years old. I had no idea where my life was going, but that was kind of in my subconscious. And then I got into sales, still had a passion for marketing and advertising. And I always would chime in on what are you doing for marketing and advertising to all my employers every single month. So I kind of put in my 2 cents, and I kind of felt like I had a knack for messaging.
Yeah.
Was really good at crafting words in a specific way to convey an emotion, convey a message in the right way to the right person. That's the key, is when you're creating ad copy, it has to make sense. It has to get to the point. It has to have the anatomy of a properly structured headline. You interrupt them, highlighting a need or a want. You explain what it is you can provide, what problem you can solve. And third, you can have a clear call to action, which is called the invitation step. Call, click, or visit, whatever. That's like more of a direct response. So I kind of got into the science of advertising, the science of behind growing businesses. And then I still was in sales, but I worked for a consulting firm. And all they did was they grew businesses, but they did it from multi-facets. And I kind of watched this guy that owned this company. He's like doing really well for himself. He had all these employees. He'd have his reps out on the road. And I was like, man, someday I'd love to do this, but more for advertising, marketing, but focusing on business growth. And then one thing led to another. And one day I went to the gym. This guy was a business owner, and he drove a really, really nice car. And I was probably 18, 19 years old or whatever. And I was like, oh, dude, that's like, how'd you buy this? And he goes, yeah, I own this company, da-da-da. He goes, you want to work for yourself? And I was like, wow, it really inspired me.
Yeah.
And all these little things would inspire me, and I'd see people that were successful and doing things and doing that. And I just became obsessed with business, obsessed. Reading business books, like studying different success stories of big companies and where they started, how did they get going? Oh wow, what's a non-compete? Like I learned about this, I know non-competes are not anything anymore, but back in the day it was like, oh, you got this idea or this invention, you have your members sign a non-compete, and you patent it and you trademark and you do all this stuff. And I just became really intrigued by the whole, I would just nerd out on business stuff, really, just straight up. I would just, I get joy from reading business books, legit. I don't, if I can learn something and pick something up, maybe put my own spin on it, You know?
Yeah.
I am a big fan of Jason Fried's Rework. If you want to do a pop-up on the book. Rework is sort of like, and again, I didn't sweat his process, or like they say, I didn't sweat the technique. I didn't sweat his shit too much because I was already like that. I read his book and I was like, that's kind of how I am. You know, that's kind of how I operate, which is a very simple-minded, to the point, high logic, high reasoning, with a high sense of ethics and morals, and just let's get to the point. Let's stop the dilly-dally. We don't need a 3-hour meeting to explain one sentence. Let's get to the point. Let's have a short meeting. Bing, bang, boom. Okay. That was my mindset. So I was really inspired even more when I read Jason Fried's book, Rework. And then I was like, wow, this is a great way to run a business. And then I think before that I read, and I mentioned this before on the show, shout out to Cam. I did mention this before we talked about this, is my favorite business book, Blue Ocean Strategy, the original one. That made me understand, how do you make your business different to the point where it makes competition irrelevant? And then I started going down this rabbit hole, and I'm like, wow, okay, how can I get better? How can I learn more? How can I put my own spin on it?
Yeah.
How can I provide the highest level of value to the client?
Unique.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
So, you know,
being you.
Yeah.
You know?
So I would just kind of, you know, I got exposed to the business growth side of things. I got exposed to, you know, marketing and advertising within those organizations, and I would study up on it, and then ended up finding out a really good friend of mine knew how to drive traffic on Google and knew how to build some websites and do all that stuff as a hobby. And I was like, let's get something going. Let's help small businesses grow, and let's do it this way, and let's try to be different than the rest. And you know, the rest is history. Today we have someone who is not a sponsor, but I want to share with the world that if you're a fan of robust coffee that's going to make you want to hit the ceilings, fly out of your boots, and maybe go up in the sky and talk to ducks, I would recommend Starbucks Nitro Cold Brew, black, unsweetened. Ladies and gentlemen, Nitro Cold Brew. Now, you have to be careful with these. You can't drink too many of them because you will be up in the sky talking to ducks and maybe some random person in the street. So you have to drink these with caution. Ladies and gentlemen, a cool, smooth Starbucks.
That was loud as fuck.
You could see the
Nitro
black come out of there, or whatever that is. That
Now,
the
I'm not going to make the mistake and drink 2 of these. I can handle like 1.5.
That's a decent amount.
Now, I will have a confession. And they're not a sponsor. I love this place. I did order one from Starbucks.
Okay.
So we will enter into this portal and see what happens next.
Oh, that's... So sprints later?
Yes. I'm going to do sprints later. I'm going to blast 100-yard sprints, go as fast as I can. I'm going to max out my DHT and my growth hormone naturally.
I love sprinting.
I feel so good after.
It love
is literally,
sprinting.
just to the folks at home, that let's say dudes, before you submit to the doctors, inject yourself with stuff. I'm talking about like older guys, say 38 and up, 40, past 40. Try sprinting, try lifting weights. You're gonna feel that. Now, if you have an injury, don't do it. This is just my opinion. If you do 100-yard sprints, do 6 to 8 of them, you will feel amazing after. And I'm not talking about just like an endorphin runner's high. No, it is not a runner's high. It is actual anabolic hormones. But just to wrap up today's show, I do want to say that this nitro is Andy approved. Top picks. Give it a stamp. Give it a shout out. Not a sponsor for the third time. I just love this product, and we've been limited to 2 shows per week, so I wanted to squeeze in a quick top pick shout out. Is the Starbucks Nitro. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching today. Be sure to click the link, subscribe, click the bells for reminders of new episodes, and be sure to stay tuned for our next episode, which will be Just Chatting. I'll talk to you later. Take care.